Hi everybody, my name is Rudy Leatherman with the HBB Pro Sales Group. We serve Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, and Western Pennsylvania. I'm here today to discuss how to use a couple of the different combustion analyzers from Bacharach. The first unit we're going to take a look at is the Bacharach InTech, a basic combustion analyzer that's very easy to operate and maintain. Okay, before we fire up the equipment, the first thing we want to do is have the instrument up and running. So to get that going, we'll need to plug in the hose and probe assembly. Just slide that over the port. This is a K-type thermocouple. As a result, it has one blade that's a little bit wider than the other, just to make it a little bit easier to make sure that you plug it in with the right polarity. I'll just take a marker and put an X on the top of it, again, just to make it a little bit easier to get together. Plug that in, and then to turn the instrument on, we'll press this button. And I want you to watch in the display. It comes up, you see it says version 1.30. That's something to take a look at. That's the most recent version of the firmware. If you have a previous version, you can go to Bacharach's website to download it and upgrade to the latest version. If you look at the bottom of the instrument there, you'll see a USB port. That's how you do it. You also have to have the FireRight Users software that you can either download off the website or get a disk for. Being able to keep your instrument's firmware up to date is one of the most unique features of this latest generation of Bacharach combustion analyzers. Now you'll notice that this ran for 30 seconds. If you don't have the thermocouple plugged in, it'll run for a full minute while the firmware is looking for that thermocouple. So a couple of things to keep in mind. One is that all carbon monoxide sensors are cross-sensitive to NOx. One difference between the InTech and the Insight Plus is that the CO sensor in the InTech is not NOx filtered. As a result, you'll get a little bit higher carbon monoxide readings with that non-filtered sensor. You may wish to consider adding an external NOx filter just to make those carbon monoxide readings more accurate. This is what the filter looks like. You simply cut out a chunk of the hose and probe assembly and slip this in place. One advantage of having an external filter is that you can visually monitor how contaminated the filter beads are and replace it when necessary. Another consideration is how the CO sensor powers up. You may have noticed that this one in the display, it said CO manual 0 on the screen during that warm-up period. What that means is that at the end of the warm-up period, the sensor will display the level of carbon monoxide in the space you're in. Obviously, that's a safety feature. I'd suggest you change it. All other manufacturers do what's called a CO auto zero, and that's how Bacharach ships their instruments. An auto zero means that the instrument assumes that the air sample during the warm-up time is clean, and it will display 0 ppm in the screen when it's finished counting down. Also keep in mind that if there are significant, substantial levels of CO in the space, the instrument will come up with a CO sensor error message when the countdown is complete, and the run screen will display just some asterisks and then ppm. If this ever happens, you need to immediately evacuate to clean air, turn the instrument off, then turn it back on again. If it powers up without that error message and comes to 0, like you see on the screen here, walk back into the space and see what's going on. It could also mean that the carbon monoxide sensor has reached the end of its useful service life, but frankly that's unlikely. Bacharach uses very good quality long life sensors. They should last many years. Although do keep in mind, like all manufacturers' carbon monoxide sensors, they do need to be calibrated typically every year. We'll talk more about carbon monoxide sensor calibration later. So let's go to the main menu, which is the F2 button. We'll press that. And just to save some time, I'm only going to address the settings you really need to be concerned with. To ensure that the calculated readings are accurate, you need to enter in the right fuel types. Let's say we've got natural gas. You can see we have propane. I don't know if I'd run number 6 through one of these, but oil, natural gas, whatever. Just hit the enter button. Okay. And then go back to the menu again, go down to memory. This instrument has 10 different memory locations. You can see their time and date stamped. The memory, we'll probably go through more on the memory later when we go through the smartphone reporting app. because there's some neat things that you can do with the test results. So we'll back out of this. We'll go to setup. First thing is temperature units. Like I said, I'm just going to go through the things that may not be self-explanatory. Clock, oxygen reference, you want to leave that at 0. Username, that's only if you're using the thermal printer that just prints out, say, a company name and phone number on the hard copy thermal printer paper. Language selection, that's pretty self-explanatory. Inactivity timeout, this one's set for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, if none of the buttons are touched and they're pressed on the keypad, it'll shut the instrument off to save some battery life. Okay, go down to post-purge period. What this does is, if say I've got it set for 1 minute, when I press the on-off button to shut it off, the instrument will run for an additional minute, just to post-purge any flue gases out, try to dry any condensate out, things like that. Okay, then down to date format, CO0 setting. This is what I was mentioning earlier. This instrument's set up to do a manual CO0, or a manual power-up of the sensor is how I say it. What that means is that, let's say there were 5 ppm in the space I was turning the instrument on in, it would come up and say 5 ppm. If I have it set to an auto 0, that's going to try to go to 0 every time, even if there's 5 or 10 ppm in the space. Now, if there's substantial CO levels, you will get an error message in either setting. The way you set them, and the instrument will come to you set up to do an auto 0. To do a manual 0, you just go to manual, hit the enter button. It says place the instrument at fresh air to 0. You want to go outside or someplace where you know is clean. Hit enter, and the instrument will run for 60 seconds, and it will establish that outside air as 0. Okay, we're not going to do that now, so we'll go back to this. Post-purge period, date format, see the combustion equations, you don't need to worry about that. Protect CO, that's not a bad thing to know about. We've got this one set for yes, and what this means is that if this instrument sees 500 ppm, it will shut the pump off to protect the sensor. These sensors are electrochemical in nature. The more of the gas that they're designed to detect, the more of that gas that they're exposed to, the shorter the life will be. So you want to try to keep the instrument from really getting slammed from carbon monoxide. I'd say set it for 500, maybe a little higher, whatever your preference is. Okay, so we'll back out of that. Combustion air temperature, don't worry about that. That's pretty much it. To get to the main screen, you just press the run hold button. Hit it again, the pump will start. Place the probe in the proper sample location, and if you need additional information on that, go to our website, www.hbbpro.com, and scroll down to the bottom. There you'll find a PDF file entitled Carbon Monoxide Combustion Testing Seminar Handout that will show where to test on different types of equipment, and it'll also give you some rules of thumb on what kinds of readings are generally considered acceptable. Always check with the manufacturer to verify what readings their equipment is designed and engineered to operate at. And a lot of times, a lot of manufacturers are starting to include that information right in their manual. Finally, and most importantly, remember to download the Bacharach reporting app. It's pretty amazing. I'll cover this in depth on another video. Definitely check it out. What you do is you bring up the test results that you want to document. Let's say we've got some test results here we want to document. You hit the run hold button to turn the pump off and lock the screen. Then you press the scroll right button. A QR code will come up in the display. You open up the Bacharach reporting app on your smartphone and click scan a new record. Hold your phone's screen over the display of the instrument. When it captures the QR code, your phone will ding, and a PDF file of the test results will come up in the display. This appears more professional. Also, it saves the cost of a thermal printer, although there still may be some folks that want a hard copy print out of the test results. In any case, there's a lot you can do with that smartphone app. Hopefully we'll be able to put a video together explaining that fully later. Hopefully this helps you use your InTech. Please stay tuned for more information. And let us know if this is helpful. Thank you for watching. Take care.